Hey guys, it's Alec Torelli, and welcome to the hand of the day. This one is from the Anantara Layan in Phuket, Thailand, the sickest place I've ever been in my life, period.
Hand of the day.
This hand is just as sick as the villa, and it is an absolute all-star lineup. The hand kicks off with Phil Lock in the hijack, who opens to 3,900 on 600, 1,200 blinds. We got Eli Elezra to his left, who opts to just call with ace-7 of clubs. Phil Ivey on the button calls with ace-6 of diamonds. Daniel Negreanu in the small blind calls with the jack-3 of clubs. And now it's on Tom Dwan in the big blind. And his hand could really go either way. 8-9 suited is definitely a playable hand. The only question is he going to just call or 3-bet? Most players in the world here would just call, closing the action and getting a great price on their hand in a multi-way plot that plays very well. But I love Tom Dwan's aggressive and creative nature in this spot and his option to 3-bet. And I love that he decides to 3-bet here because having these types of hands in your 3-betting range makes you way harder to play against. And he does sense a lot of weakness in this hand by everybody else that just called, and his 3-bet is likely to win. If not, he has a very good disguised playable hand post-flop, and so I love his 3-bet here. Phil Lock, who maybe could have even folded pre-flop with ace-9, now has definitely a reasonable decision. Folding is the clear, obvious, straightforward play, but he could opt to 4-bet here, especially against a 3-better like Dwan, who is 3-betting with a wider range of hands than most people in this spot. Lock also has an ace in his hand, which makes it less likely that Dwan has a premium holding. Still, Lock decides to fold, take a conservative route, which is fine. Eli Elezra has a very easy fold with Ivey behind him and having shown weakness pre-flop, really not much he can do in this spot. Now on Ivey, who has a really serious decision. Normally in a 100 big blind poker or in a cash game with shallower stacks, you're going to want to fold here with ace-x suited. But in this game, against a very wide 3-better who has a wider range like Dwan, and the fact that they're super deep and Ivey's on the button, who has very good post-flop skills, could argue for a call here. Ace-X suited is going to have a decent amount of equity versus Dwan's range, more than it would against most players, and Ivey being so deep on the button, I like a call here with Ace-X suited. Daniel has a very trivial fold in the small blind, and we go heads up in a $70,000 pot to the flop. Flop comes King, Queen, 10 with 2 diamonds. And here, Dwan has an interesting decision. His hand didn't really improve on this flop, but I like a c-bet here from Tom because this flop favors Dwan's range so much more than it favors Ivey's. If you think about the types of hands that Dwan's going to 3-bet with, this flop favors them immensely. Anything like pocket kings, pocket queens, pocket tens, ace queen, ace king, aces, all are going to have made huge hands on this flop, and it's way more likely that Dwan, as the 3-better, has those hands than Ivey has those hands after just calling twice on the button. So for that reason, I like a c-bet. Dwan elects to make a c-bet of 45,000. Now it's over to Ivey. Here, I think Ivey should just call. The problem with raising here in Ivey's shoes is that if Dwan shoves, Ivey's going to be in a really sticky spot. The pot's going to be so big that he's going to have pigeonholed himself and basically have to call it off. But at the same time, when all the money goes in a spot like this, Ivey's not going to be in great shape. Sure, he has a gut shot and a flush draw, but if you think about the types of hands we mentioned earlier that Dwan could have, that he's going to put all the money in with on the flop, those hands have an ace-high flush draw in pretty bad shape. So for that reason, I like a call by Ivey, which he elects to do. We go heads up to the turn. Turn comes an offsuit 3, no help to Dwan. He has 9 high, out of position, being called in a re-raise pot against Phil Ivey. Now 99.99% of the people in the world here are just going to check, which is why I absolutely love Dwan going for the second barrel and being a total boss and having the balls to bet 125,000 in a spot where nobody else is going to bluff. Now if you think about this spot, we got to think about the types of hands that Ivey has. It's not like Dwan's bet is completely out of line ridiculous. It actually does have some merit. Ivey isn't going to be trapping this flop that often because if you think about it, Ivey just flat called pre-flop on the button and he flat called a second time when Dwan 3-bet. So that eliminates a lot of hands from Ivey's range that are otherwise premium holdings. Ivey can't really have kings, can't have queens, can't have tens. Ace-jack's super unlikely because he probably would have 3-bet that pre-flop when it goes open call. And king queen is unlikely as well. So there's not a ton of massive, strong hands in Ivey's range, and Ivey's gonna have a lot of weaker hands that have draws. Something like 10 jack suited, queen jack suited, maybe a flush draw, etc. Those hands, while they may call again on the turn, are going to fold the river to a third barrel. So Dwan in this spot isn't just betting randomly on the turn. He clearly sees that this is a dividing point in the hand, and he knows that if he's going to bet this turn, he's going to need to fire through with a third barrel on the river, because it's too often that Ivey's going to just call the turn and fold the river. So the way that Dwan's going to exploit that is betting 3 times. So I love what Dwan's doing here by setting this up for a huge bluff on the river in a spot where Ivey is never going to expect it. Now the river comes in offsuit 6, which doesn't really change much. It's actually a very good card for Dwan, because all the types of hands that we mentioned earlier that Ivey's calling the turn with, like Jack 10 or a flush draw, now did not improve. Those hands didn't pick up any more equity, and they're going to be forced to fold to a bet on the river. So I love that Dwan decides to shove here. He makes it 275,000. Super ballsy play, incredibly aggressive nature of Dwan. And now Ivey is actually thinking about it with a pair of 6s on the river. And while he does have the best hand in this spot, the book clearly says to fold. Dwan's going to be playing all of his massive premium hands the same way. He's going to bet, shove with them. All the hands we talked about on the flop, sets, 2 pairs straights. And if you think about it, Ivey actually blocks flush draws that Dwan could be bluffing with. So this is one of the worst hands that Ivey could have to call with. Of course, that hasn't stopped me in the past, but at the same time, I don't think that this is necessarily the best spot to pull it off. If Ivey has a serious read that Dwan is bluffing, could be a spot where you could think about it a little more, but here's the problem. Dwan could be bluffing with hands that are better than Ivey's. If Dwan has something like Jack 10, he's gonna bluff this river to get Ivey off of a king or a queen or something like that. So even some of Dwan's bluffs beat Ivey's hand, and that's the problem I have with this. If Ivey had a little bit better of a hand that could beat some of Dwan's bluffs, I would be okay with Ivey making a hero call in this spot, but credit to Ivey for seriously considering it when he actually had the best hand. That's just a testament to what a badass he is and how seriously amazing instincts that Ivey has. So I think this is an okay fold by Ivey. He did fold the best hand, but sometimes in poker you have to fold the best hand to win, otherwise you're calling way too often. So I love how both players played this hand, and it's truly a testament to how amazing poker can be at a super high level. Credit to Dwan for winning himself a $600,000 pot, being a badass, and outplaying one of the best players in the world. I hope you enjoyed this hand of the day. If you liked it, please subscribe to my channel. Putting out some new awesome content soon. A little bit different of style than I have in the past, and I'm experimenting with it here. I hope you enjoy. Subscribe to my channel, give it a thumbs up, share it with someone you love, and I will see you guys next time on the hand of the day. Thanks for watching. Woo! Oh man.